Okay, everyone, hi. Thank you for joining this ongoing teaching, a guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. And I hope you all are doing well. First of all, as a Mahāyāna Buddhist practitioner, we have to examine our own minds, and we make sure our minds are not mixed with selfishness, ego. That's very important before we start teaching. As you know, this teaching is very beneficial for everyone because it offers profound practices like practice patience, generosity, ethical conduct, especially bodhicitta, out of enlightenment. All of which lead to the development of a compassionate and love and kindness sort of heart. Bodhisattva's path offers practical advice for living in the world with a sense of compassion and concern for others. And this can guide us in making good choices in our day-to-day life. And that is very important for our happiness and well-being. So in this teaching here, Shantideva addresses common emotional struggles like anger, jealousy, and selfishness. So his methods can help us learn to transform negative emotions into opportunities for growth and develop. And this teaching also includes detailed instructions on cultivating mindfulness, concentration, meditation, and especially generate bodhicitta. So these practices are essential for those who really want to reduce mental problems and distractions. And one of the key instruction is overcoming attachment to selfish mind and ego. So it is a major obstacle to spiritual growth. So this teaching encourages us to move beyond ego and open our hearts to ourselves and others, which is the essence of the bodhisattva path. And this teaching can inspire us to find a purpose of life, which is working for the welfare of all sentient beings. And Buddhism believes that that's the purpose of our life, to help others, help ourselves, to help others. It helps us focus on the bigger picture of universal well-being. And with that right motivation, anyone can reach their goal and liberation. So Shantideva encouraged us to not just understand the teachings intellectually, but to integrate them into our day-to-day life through meditation, contemplation, and beneficial actions. So we're really fortunate to have this teaching and have an opportunity to study and practice this teaching. So now I'm going to pick up where I left off last class, which is the 41st stanza. So today, these teachings and stanzas are about how to protect ourselves from fear of death and how to prepare for our death. We all know, of course, we all, sooner or later, we're all going to die. We don't have to talk about it. We all believe it. But most people really don't know or unaware how to prepare for it. So it's important. So please listen carefully and think about how to prepare for this situation. Sooner or later, it will come, right? So 41st stanza, it says, when captured by messengers of the Lord of Death, what benefit will family or friends afford? At that time, it's merit alone that can protect me. However, I have not relied on such merit. 신지 본인 징직 신지 본이 선발라 년지 집은 시집은 대세 손음 직접나 대양다게 마업단도. So again, this stanza talks about preparation for death and talks about karmic responsibility. The Lord of Death here is a metaphor for the inescapable force that bring an end to our lives. So at the moment of death, no matter how close our family and friends are, they cannot help. The relationship we have built in this life is very important, but we can't take that beyond death. So therefore, Shantideva mentioned here, what benefit will our family and friends be able to help and provide, even if they are surrounding us at that moment? So usually facing death can bring up feelings of fear, uncertainty, and loneliness. So, of course, family and friends can only help create a peaceful atmosphere for the person who is dying. For example, family and friends can help, and hold their hands and encouraging them to remain calm or say some prayers or remind them of their practices. and focus on positive thoughts and spiritual support for the dying person. So family and friends, can remind them of their spiritual aspirations, encouraging a peaceful and mindful transition. That's all they can do for a dying person if they are there at that moment. Other than that, at the moment of death, Shantideva says here, family and friends, usually we are so attached to them and we have good relationships and they're so important in our lives, but at the moment death can help us. That time, the best of all protection is our practice alone. But if we don't possess any habit of practice, we will not have any protection. So only the Dharma can protect us at that moment. So therefore it says at that time, it is merit alone that can protect me. So here merit refers to the positive actions done through Dharma practice in this lifetime. Then it also says, however, I have not relied on such merit. So this is a moment of self-reflection and regret. And it can help us to practice right now when we have good opportunity. So Buddhism believes positive actions through Dharma practice support us not only this life, of course, this life, reduce all the negative thoughts and emotions this life, but not only that, Buddhism believes all these positive actions through our practice also support us at death and beyond death. So if we don't have any experience of practice like compassion, love and kindness, bodhicitta, wisdom, mindfulness, all this kind of practice, then even if what Shantideva is saying is here, family and friends remind us of our aspirations, we will not be able to focus on our mind, because if we don't have any experience of this practice, if we don't practice right now. So therefore it's important to understand death is inevitable and uncertain. So therefore, each and every day, try to practice even 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and enjoy your life. There is no time for unhappiness and worries, anxiety, all that. So now the next 42nd stanza, Shantideva is saying, "O protectors, I have been careless, unaware of such terror as this, and committed many negative deeds for the sake of this impermanent life. Ngumbo wagmet dakin jikpan danda mansarni mertak sendi chetak the dikpa mangbo near dip." So this stanza talks about reflecting on the impermanent nature of this life and reflecting on our actions, intentions, our thoughts, and considering where they might have caused harm to ourselves and others. So here we are calling out to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of protection with the words, say, "Oh, protectors." So here we are confessing our negative actions. I have been careless, I was not aware, I accumulated and committed negative deeds by killing, all these negative actions for the sake of fame, riches, defeating enemies, and so on and so forth, right? I did not know that I would be faced like this with the terrors of sufferings. So in this stanza, the terror here refers to death and the uncertainty of what follows. For example, the bardo and the future rebirth, etc., if you believe. Then it also says, committed many negative deeds for the sake of this impermanent life. So here, this stanza, we have to reflect on our actions. So we engaged in action based on attachment, based on anger, selfishness, jealousy, all of this because of ignorance for worldly life, and created all this negative karma. So, and now, seeing how temporary life is, and we regret wasting this precious time on harmful actions. So this is a confession of regret combined with awareness and mindfulness, right? So this is important. And recognizing in Buddhism, recognizing negative karma, negative action is not about sort of self-punishment. It's about self-growth and becoming a compassionate person who can navigate this impermanent life with wisdom. And it allows us to face the truth of our actions with honest and loving kindness. So it's important to feel regret for our harmful actions and accept sort of responsibility without making any excuse. So use it as motivation to make a commitment in front of protectors and never do it again. That's how we purify our negative mind, thoughts, and karma. And that is the benefit of regret. And that is how we purify our negative mind. So recognizing negative karma action is the first step toward purification, freeing us from guilt and attachment to harmful actions. So that is how we purify our mind, right? So this stanza, remember, we have to purify our negative actions and karma in order to generate bodhicitta, remember? So that then when we purify negative mind. There are four powers, right? So they're talking about the regret, the power of regret. It helps reduce our regrets and inspires forgiving ourselves for past mistaken actions and create positive um, action, positive energy for the future. So recognizing negative action, negative karma can uh, help detach from the ego, and it allows us to diminish clinging to past actions. But most of us, we are not aware of negative actions, and we have accumulated a lot of negative karma for the sake of this, as Shantideva said, this impermanent life. So here we regret all our harmful actions in front of protectors, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, so that we will be able to reduce the fear of death and bring more peace and positive energy for the future. So we have to keep these teachings in our mind in order to purify our negative mind. Okay? Now the 43rd and 44th stanza, it says, even individual is led today to a place where their limbs will be cut off, they will be terrified, their whole appearance will be transformed, their mouth will go dry, their vision will deteriorate, and so on. What need to mention the tremendous despair when stricken with great panic of disease, clutched by the overwhelming forms of the frightful messengers of the Lord of Death. Okay, these stanzas give an example of overwhelming fear for the harms of this life. For example, imagine how panicked a person would be who has broken the laws and is being led to a torture chamber. In the past, many, many years ago, they punished lawbreakers so painfully, right? In such a situation, the suffering, the terror is not only emotional, but physically. Sometimes, they cut off parts of their body. Sometimes they burned their body. Sometimes they bound individuals in very painful positions. Sometimes they poured boiling water on them, etc. The way they tortured people was terrifying at that time. We can see the pictures and like that. So many, many years ago. So maybe during the Shantideva's time, maybe that happening. I don't know. So that's the example. So similarly, someone who has, for example, created nothing but negative actions, karma, and harmed so many beings during this life will suffer from feelings of guilt, fear of death, and the ripening of their karma. All these negative thoughts fear of death, feelings of loneliness, regret, guilt, and then the unknown nature of death. And along with a lack of spiritual practice and peace in the mind at the moment of death will result in a absence of peace and love. Instead, there will be regret, guilt, panic. So all this emotional suffering can feel much harder than physical pain. And on top of that, when it also involves significant physical pain, it can be more difficult, right? So that's why sometimes death is painful, both mentally and physically. If the person is a kind of negative and doing nothing but negative karma, harm others. So therefore, the process of dying is extremely difficult if we are not prepared for it. And also, death requires us to completely leave everything that we love in this life. So it is difficult because we are so attached to them, right? We just can't let go. So, when you are facing death, many people believe that it is the sort of complete ending of everything. But as you know, from the Buddhist viewpoint, that is not completely the end of everything. So what if there is a next life? Then we are not prepared for it at all. If we are prepared for death, then, the great masters say that death is not necessarily terrible. If we have had some amount of practice in this life, if we have a peaceful mind, loving and compassionate mind, then death is not so mentally peaceful. Therefore, this life is so important and crucial because we have a great chance to prepare for the next life if you believe future. So here Shantideva mentioned the Lord of Death, or Yama in Buddhism, Sanskrit. So when you think about the Lord of Death, it is like a mirror reflecting one's past actions. It is a kind of like as a teacher encourages us to reflect on our actions and live virtuously. The Lord of Death is also a reminder of sooner or later, right? Inevitability of death and sort of karmic cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. So facing the Lord of Death also can represent the spiritual journey of overcoming the ego and realizing the true nature of mind. However, if we don't have any spiritual experience, then it says the Lord of Death is very scary because of all these negative emotions. At the moment of death, we will remember and that very scary. So we can protect us from it. Right now, we have to develop a positive mind, loving, compassionate bodhicitta. That is the point. Otherwise, there's no reason to talk about death and all this kind of like negative thoughts and emotions, right? But we are talking these things because we can prepare and purify this negative mind. That's the point. Now, the next 45th and 6th stanza. Then Shantideva it says, can anyone protect me completely from this great horror? With eyes given in an expression of terror, I will search for refuge in the four directions. But not seeing any refuge in the four directions, I will become utterly despondent. If no refuge will be there for me, at such a time, what shall I do? Sijikchindali da lakpar chopar hinjir tesha ton bi mugdad ni shohir chabdak sorwe shohir chabmin thoni na teni kund yumugja ni der chabit maya na tisidak chirtar. When we are facing the pain and fear of death, then what we do, we will look for protection in all directions, north, south, east, west, for safety or someone to save us. We will look for help. We will look for protection in every possible directions. But then we will realize that there is no one to protect us at that time, at that moment, because we have not created it within ourselves as a positive karma, as a protector. And then we will realize, we will remember all these negative actions we have done. Then we will feel guilty, regret, we will feel lonely and disappointed. So at such a time, what shall we do? The most effective way to protect ourselves from the fear of death is reflecting on how everything in life changes and ends. So this can help us reduce fear of the future and appreciate our life. Spiritual practice can calm the mind and provide a sense of connection to something greater than ourselves. So that is our refuge. That is our protection. So these stanzas are pointing to a key realization in Buddhist teachings, that there is no external object or worldly power can fully protect us from the fundamental suffering at that time. So ultimate refuge or protect can be found in external things. So we have to realize there is no ultimate external refuge other than teachings of the Buddhas or practice. So that way it says, if no refuge will be there for me at such a time, what shall I do? Shantideva. This is very important and crucial question, right? What shall I do? The answer is we need to find and rely on inner sort of refuge, which is practice bodhicitta and wisdom. Why is this important? Because only through this realization we can save, through this practice, we can save ourselves. So practicing can help create deep connection to the cycle of life and death and reducing fear. So the best protection against the fear of death is to live fully with inner peace and benefit others as much as we can during this life when we have this opportunity. And consider death as a transaction rather than completely end, or fear full of negative thoughts and emotions. Then we can transform fear into an opportunity to deepen our appreciation for life. So the most important thing to do in this life, and when the time of death comes, is to make sure to eliminate attachment and dedicate everything for the well-being of others and ourselves, and cultivate a clear sense of satisfaction and be ready to change this life to another good one. And remember this commitment I have told you so many times, but again here, when the time of death comes, you have to make a commitment like, I will not allow any negative thoughts to enter my mind. That's important. So if you prepare all these practices and develop some sort of experience during this life, during daily life, then it will be that much more effective and beneficial at the actual moment of death. So we have to investigate our own mind, how much we are attached to this worldly life based on selfish mind, ego. We look at ourselves, our emotions, thoughts, to see how we are doing with our practice. We have to investigate that all the time. As Shantideva said, you will search for refuge, but not seeing any refuge in the four directions, you will become utterly disappointed, right? So this is very true for some people. I have seen this situation in Tibet when people are dying. They were confused, feel guilty. I've been, there was one person, I was there at the moment his death, and he was afraid of, like, he killed lots of animals. He was like a hunter, and it's so strange, right? The moment like he's going this process of death, and he said, I'm seeing these animals, they're kind of like chasing after me, and what should I do? I mean, that's how we feel or experience the, sometimes people talk about hell realm, all these kind of things. There's no such thing as hell realm exist, but we can experience it like that because of our negative thoughts and emotion, all these habits. From that, we can experience these negative things. That's why this person, I'm just telling you, this person asked me, hey, all this he killed lots of deer, all this kind of animals, so now they are chasing after me and I'm afraid of can you help me? I mean, he asked me. I say that's not true, but they feel that, they experience that, you know. So they have a fear of the future, all these negative emotions make them panic and have no peace in their mind. They always ask for advice, prayers, and what to do. It's actually too late, but we can't say there is nothing you can do. It's too late. That make them, panic more. So if you feel sort of these preparations are important, then right now is the perfect time to do them. Because at the moment death is just too late. So that's the main point. Shantideva gives these teachings, because right now is the perfect time. So one time the Buddha advised Indian king by saying, great king, we all have to die. When you are lying on your deathbed with a little bit of life remaining, like maybe 4 or 5 seconds, there will be fear of death and feeling of loneliness. At that time, beside the Dharma, there is no refuge and no support. At that time, the Dharma becomes your protector, your shelter, your teacher. So practice it right now. That's exactly what Buddha said, advised a king. So there are two reasons we have to think about this. The first reason is, as we know, sooner or later, death will happen, no doubt about it. But it can happen at any time, so we need to prepare for it. Then second reason is when we are facing death, we may become overwhelmed by feelings of sadness, fear, regret, whatever. So right now we have to investigate our own mind and prepare for it. So thinking about death helps us avoid harmful actions and live more authentically with a peace and positive life. So usually think about death and all the process of all these negative thoughts and death. It's kind of uncomfortable. But the other way to think about death helps us, create positive actions and avoid harmful actions. That's not only for good for death, but this life, day-to-day life. So it's kind of helpful, right? So recognize the purpose of life, maintain self-awareness in daily life, deepen our appreciation for relationships, and so on and so forth. So it's good to think about it if you want. Okay, now the next 47th stanza. Devi jarwan doving gondroa chopi tonsen ba topchin jikpa kansela tiranin ni chapsinches. The stanza is, thus the victorious ones, the refuge of beings, who strive in their purpose of protecting beings, and who great power dispel all fears, I take refuge from today onwards. So do you remember the 28th stanza through the 47th here stanza are about the power of regretting, having done wrong. Regret reflects a recognition of wrongdoing. It helps our practice grow and helps us to learn from our mistakes and avoid similar actions in the future. So if you want to read, you can see that again, 28th stanza through all the way. This stanza, 47, the power of regret. We talk a lot about power of regret and good thing about regret, right? Here we finished the first power. Now here we have the second power, the power of sport. And here we have the 3 steps. First, instructions on seeking refuge in the 3 jewels from this very moment. Second, seeking help in the bodhisattvas, those who possess the power of the perfection of aspiration. And third, once we have taken refuge in them, then follow in their teachings, doing whatever they wish and practice in accordance to their instructions. Okay, those 3 steps. The power of sport, which is focused on the outer and inner Buddha, and we take refuge in them and use them as our sport during our purification practices. And we make a commitment in front of them when we practice and keep that commitment. That helps us avoid harmful actions in our daily life. So this sport, the power of sport, helps our inner strength, not just only for our personal purification, but it's done with the intention of benefiting all sentient beings, which is the purpose of life. So this practice can also help our mental clarity, emotional healing, and karmic purification. So when we practice the power of sport, we need to take refuge. That's why it says the victorious ones, the refuge of beings, I take refuge from today onwards. So taking refuge is a commitment to develop our confident faith, right? That's all about taking refuge and develop our confident faith. And confident faith is a heart connection to the Dharma practice, basically, in everyday life. And it allows our practice to grow and experience to increase our practice every day. So in Buddhism, taking refuge with faith is mentioned as one of the most important qualities of a spiritual practitioner. Once we understand Dharma and practice it, then we will have faith in Buddha. Because if Buddha did not give Dharma teachings, we would never have the opportunity to study and practice Dharma. So therefore, Buddha is here our refuge. When we say Buddha, there are outer Buddha, there is inner Buddha, right? So our refuge, our protector from fear, because the Buddha's great power can dispel all kinds of fears if we follow his teachings and practice them. Great power. Great power here means his great wisdom, compassion, and skillful means. Through these three powerful qualities, he can help us purify negative mind, and he can guide us on the path to awakening through his teachings. So the Buddha's blessings, whether through visualization or through prayer or mantra, can purify negative mind and can achieve liberation. So through the Buddha's three powerful qualities, he can guide and transform beings, empowering us to overcome suffering and to realize enlightenment. So here we need to take refuge in the Buddhas because they are our protection. As I said, they can guide us away from harmful paths, encourage positive actions that lead to Bodhisattva's path, lead to liberation, lead to and bring happiness, everlasting happiness into our daily life. And they empower us to realize our own Buddha nature and recognize that everyone has the potential for enlightenment. Even though the Buddha is no longer physically present for us, but his teachings and blessings remain. We have this opportunity, and through the Dharma teachings and through the lineage holders and spiritual practice. So therefore, those who call upon them with sincere faith, their blessings are manifest wherever there is genuine faith and practice and effort, because their limitless wisdom, compassion, and ability to guide sentient beings to liberation, to happiness, and attain ultimate freedom from suffering. So therefore, this practice makes sense, right? So in order to develop bodhicitta, the bodhicitta is the most important practice in Mahāyāna Buddhism. In order to generate bodhicitta, we have to purify our negative mind. Instructions for purification practice, there are four powers. So we have to think about investigate our mind, our negative actions that we have done in the past. Then we have to recognize that that was wrong. That is what we call regret. Not just only regret, but we have to change it so that we can avoid these negative actions in the future. So then we become a better human beings, better life. There is opportunity to help others, help ourselves. So that's the purification power of regret. Then once we have that, all that information in our mind, then we take refuge in three jewels. If you are a Buddhist, then in front of three jewels, we create this positive thoughts. We make a commitment, right? And change our negative thoughts and emotions in front of this refuge protector. And we follow their teachings and practice every day. So that's what we call power of sport. Because if you understand the Buddhist teachings, then you will understand how to develop confident faith in three jewels, in Buddha. Because without these teachings, there is no opportunity to change all these negative thoughts and emotions. There's very profound and vast instructions that we can use in order to eliminate and change our negative actions. So therefore, our real protection is the Buddha's three jewels, and then bring that teaching into our practice, then that become inner protection. At the moment of death, then we have all these instructions in how to calm our mind and how to generate positive thoughts and make ourselves and others happy. So that's why. So we have the power of sport. The point, all these four powers, we need to practice because we have to generate bodhicitta in our mind. Okay, so that's all for today's teaching. Now, we're going to meditate for a few minutes. Since we're talking about preparation, right? Preparation for death. So meditating on preparing for death is a profound practice in Buddhism. Right? It helps us reduce attachment and live more meaningfully. So in Buddhism, encourage us to let go of attachment, that attachment based on selfishness, jealousy, anger, that kind of attachment, right? So if we let go of that kind of attachment and we live fully in the present and positive life every day, then we can let go of that attachment. So in Buddhism, what matters most is the quality of mind we bring into moment of death or into everyday life. And Buddhism say the idea is that every moment is an opportunity to prepare by practicing bodhicitta and wisdom. Bodhicitta and wisdom, everything, Buddhism, all the teachings, all about bodhicitta and wisdom, how to practice, how to generate bodhicitta and wisdom. If we have been cultivating these qualities, then then there is not anything extra we have to do at the moment of death. Just to keep that. That's important to understand, right? So now, meditating on preparing for death. How do you meditate on this? Have you done it? This is what we call analytical meditation, contemplating meditation, right? This is just how you do this. Few minutes meditation is not enough, but if you do this every day, it will help. So as usual, when you meditate, you have to sit comfortably. You have to create a good position, your back straight, and allowing your mind sort of to calm. Maybe sometimes it helpful. You sort of focus on your breath, dip some, focus just to focus on an breath and breathe gently. Do that like few seconds. And that helps calm both your mind and body. Sometimes people ask me their body is so like become numb and difficult. And that because of you sit there too long. If you are a beginner, you have to, the great meditators, masters say that practice short time frequently because your body is not used to it. So then it's difficult to feel the good energy of your body if you sit too long. So 5 minutes, then take a break, then go back, 5 minutes, do that many times. That helps. So then just relax and calm your mind. And then just reflect everything is changing, right? The energy of your body, the process of your thoughts, your mind, inside, outside, everything is changing. So kind of reflect on that and really try to understand this nature. Every moment, everything is changing. Five senses, five objects, everything is changing. So then once you understand that through analytical meditation, then gently sort of accept the truth of change. And then your mind think like this. Since we are meditating on preparing for death or the process of, this life. So you will think that I will die because everything is changing, but I don't know when I don't know where, I don't know how. And let this sort of awareness sink into your mind without fear, without uncomfortable thoughts. Just accept sort of the truth of change of your life. Kind of recognize, because most, I think, mm, people, ordinary people, even not aware of this kind of situation. So it's important to understand and develop this awareness in your mind without fear, and ask yourself, when death comes, what will truly matter? What will when death comes, what will I regret? What will I be satisfied with this life? What do I need to develop more for my death? I mean, right now. Or do I really care about death and after? So these are very important kind of question that you have to answer. Each and individual's different answer, have a different answer. So for example, if I die now, what do I need to do? Just to reflect on all this. If I die now, what will I regret? Do you have any regret in your mind? If you do, how do you change that? How do you satisfy it instead of regret? How do you develop and purify this action, negative thoughts? So really focus on these questions and what you need to change, what you need to do. Am I have already done the inner work for face death with clarity and peace? So contemplate on these questions because it gives you the wisdom. Oh, I need to do this. I need to change this. I need to develop this more. I need to change this right now. So then you make a commitment. Once you have answered all these questions, make a commitment. If you need to. And then just to relax right there without any worry, fear, anything in your mind, just to relax. Okay? Do this kind of meditation in your daily life that helps to avoid negative actions, to create peace in your mind, bring all positive actions in your life. So meditate on that for a few minutes, please.